Thank you everyone for tuning in. You are watching the Camper Report Live. We have a new guest today. Welcome everyone to the Camper Report. Today I have two very special guests. You have from 49ers Cutback. You guys may or may not have heard of them. You can go check them out. Link is in the description. 49ers Cutback. We've got Alex and Ant today with us. How are you guys doing? 49ers coming off of a big win in Chicago, so we're going to be here to break it all down and break down the next game against the Cardinals.
Yeah, it's exciting. We needed this to happen. So I'm really excited about the opportunities for the 49ers moving forward.
Absolutely, same here. This is exciting times for the Niners and exciting times for us. So let's dive into this.
Yeah. So our first one, there was some interesting, like Kyle Shanahan, obviously with an interesting, used Jimmie Garoppolo a little bit different. So we'll get right into that. Hold on, I'm just pulling it up. The 49ers were rolling on offense and they made adjustments. What were some of the adjustments that you guys see them make in the Bears game to previous games?
I think one of the big things that the 49ers did this game was mostly in the run game, the way they attacked.
Right.
They did a lot of unique things with Kyle Juszczyk. So they helped him. They used him as a helping blocker with Charlie Warner. That gave him help. So all of those sweeps and stretches, getting Juszczyk out there in space, chipping a guy, moving him out of the way, and then letting him get up to second level, really opened up a lot of opportunities for Elijah Mitchell on the outside.
Yeah, I think the big thing was that got Jimmie Garoppolo involved early. They went with 3 straight passes to start the game, took a shot to Brandon Ayuk early, made Chicago think that they were going to do something different with Jimmy than normal, where they can muck up the middle of the defense and make it hard for Jimmy to hit those intermediate routes. And I thought Kyle really showed a lot of trust in Jimmie Garoppolo and allowed him to kind of operate and take over this team and be the actual leader of the football team. He was still getting in and out of plays, but it seemed like he was feeling really good about the execution and the game plan. Early on, there were some drops. There were some things. Jimmy maybe missed a couple passes that would have been big. But I thought once he settled in, that's why the offense really got going and looked really good. So, I was impressed with the game plan. I think it needs to be more of that as we move forward along the season.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely saw them take a lot more shots downfield. Now, again, this was a pretty bad Bears defense, so maybe a lot more trust. But what I want to see more from the 49ers is just trusting. Now, it's hard to trust Jimmie Garoppolo because he's made so many mistakes, but trusting him more in big game, like in Carter games against the Cardinals. I feel like even though he's going to make those mistakes, but I feel like trusting Jimmie Garoppolo, not only in these easy games against the Bears, but in big games where you really need him. I think that's the biggest thing. I think just trusting him more to throw downfield like they did against the Bears, even though the Bears defense really isn't that good. So, and also they let the Bears beat themselves. I think that was the biggest thing. They did not make any mistakes. Jimmie Garoppolo had a perfect game. So, I mean, a lot of times what we've seen, Colts last game, the 49ers have beaten themselves. Like they've made so many mistakes in the game where, I mean, it's been very frustrating, but this game, it was just a clean football game. Again, like you said, Ant, I really want to see them, do this more often because otherwise, I don't want to see that vanilla stuff anymore. So.
Yeah, well, I think they have their back against the wall. You know what I mean? They have nothing to lose. Kyle Shanahan knows if they lose another game, they might be out of this thing. So you got to just go out there and roll with Jimmie Garoppolo and just let's see if he can be that guy that they had before, the guy that in 2017 made them think he was willing of 5 years and $95 million and just get after it. So I think that that's part of the reason that they're so motivated and so pushed to just let this thing fly and let this thing go.
Couldn't have said it any better myself, man.
Yeah, that's a good point, and we'll see. I mean, the run game definitely helped a lot more, and can they do it against teams like the Cardinals? That was something that really helped. So are you guys all good with this, or should we move on to the next one?
Well, I think there's some other things we can talk about with this game and what happened with this offense and the adjustments late in this game, right? And the things that the 49ers did offensively against the Bears and the way they started executing. I think the one thing that everyone's got to point out and highlight is the offensive line play. You have to talk about how well this O-line played. Yes, they're down Khalil Mack, and that's a big miss for the Chicago Bears and their identity defensively. But the reality, too, is that you're going to play a team this week with the Cardinals that is missing J.J. Watt as a huge piece of their interior pass rush, as well as slowing down the run and the run game. Yes, we're playing some teams at the opportune time, the 49ers, and people may say, oh, well, that's just, it's one of those things where we're just getting lucky at the right times. Well, sometimes that's what it's about. It's about playing opponents at the right time of the season and being able to take advantage of those opportunities, because everyone in the NFL deals with injuries, and the 49ers dealt with a lot of them in 2020 and way more than we've ever seen in the league, in the history of the league, and dealt with a lot here at the early onset portion of the season. And yeah, the Niners are getting healthy now at the right time. You've got two opponents back-to-back that are missing key guys in that front four, but that means the O-line has another week where they can try and figure it out, get it dialed in, and can keep Jimmie potentially upright, get this run game going, and that could mean a big 49ers win.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And the one thing that was so impressive about the 49ers this last game was they were able to – their offense wasn't hiccuping all the time, right? They were able to match every single time the Bears scored. They were able to match it in some way, and goes back to the part they weren't beating themselves. They were converting every time. Their offense looked really good. The only thing that I'm concerned is will we see that against a good defense? But again, there's some things. I mean, Cardinals, like you said, are banged up, so. And they finally got Brandon Ayuk involved, which was something that we had not been seeing. That was an adjustment that I love Brandon Ayuk, and they finally kind of got him involved for sure. So, and they're getting George Kittle back next week.
Which is huge. George Kittle is going to be huge for this run game, huge for the pass game. He's going to take some pressure off of Jimmie Garoppolo because he's going to have an outlet that he can always go to. But also, if you want to focus on Deebo Samuel, then the emergence of Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle being back in this offense, they're going to be able to execute an attack. And that's going to also help a lot in the run game. So you're going to see the return of the play-action pass, which they didn't run a whole lot against Chicago, but I look for it to come back against Arizona.
Right. Well, I mean, one guy that we have to Kyle Shanahan and Jimmie Garoppolo, the relationship between them two, we saw some of Kyle Shanahan's creativity and trust with Jimmie Garoppolo. What do you think prompted that? That was an interesting factor into this game because we saw him throw it down 40-yard, bombed it or whatever it was to Deebo Samuel, and a lot more downfield passes. Do you think that was just the easy opponent or what?
It's opportunity. You take what the defense gives you, and the defense was giving them an opportunity to attack down the field in that situation, so you're going to go ahead and take it. And I had said on the Saturday before the game that I believed that Brandon Ayuk was going to show up in this game in a big way, and he did. He had his biggest game of the year. And I think it's the way that the 49ers have been scheming things up this year. It finally came to an opportunity where they had shots down the field. Jimmie Garoppolo's calf was healthy enough to press and make those throws, and he made those throws without hesitation. And when he does that, he has the ability to do it. That quick release is still something that's impactful. The one thing is when he doesn't have that lower half to be able to drive the ball down the field, he will float it and leave the defenders opportunities to make plays. That one that he threw to Deebo Samuel was literally dropped in the bucket. You can't throw it any better than that. And if we're going to see that sort of performance from Jimmie Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan is going to keep dialing them up, especially if those opportunities are going to be there, which they are every single week because these defenses want to muck up the middle and take away his intermediate passing game.
They always want to do that, man. I mean, it's the area where Jimmie thrives, right? And we had our All-22 film preview on Patreon where we went over the Bucs versus the Bears and the similarities in the way that Tom Brady likes to attack the football field and the way Jimmie Garoppolo likes to attack the football field are identical. The only difference has been Tom has been relatively healthy his entire career, finish, and is a little bit better of the thrower of the football down the field outside the numbers than Jimmie Garoppolo is. So with those two strengths, right, teams have recognized Jimmy's weaknesses and have tried to force him into those areas where he has to take those shots downfield. And when he's healthy and he has the line to protect him and give him the time he can step into those throws, he tends to be better than better than not better. He'll make those throws when he has the time and the ability to do so. When he doesn't, it's a little bit harder. Where someone like Tom, he's a little more accurate outside that number. He's got a little bit more of an arm, a little stronger for football arm, a little bit lighter arm, I guess is the right way to describe it. And he can push that ball downfield outside the numbers even when there's pressure in his face. That's what separates the two of them. That's why Tom was the starter for as long as he is. Why Tom's one of the greatest of all time. And why Jimmie Garoppolo is a guy who isn't in that same category and probably will never be in that same category. But Jimmie has the ability to take shots downfield. We've seen it. 2017, we saw it more often than we've ever seen it at any point of his career in San Francisco. This is something Ant and I have been talking about a lot. Is that version of Jimmie Garoppolo was a guy who had everything to prove. People were still doubting him. He had a chip on his shoulder, and now he's in a very similar boat, right? They've made the move for Trey Lance. This team didn't perform early in the season, and his back is as far pressed up against the wall as the 49ers team was going into this game against the Bears.
Yep.
So maybe now he has the motivation he needs to be closer to that version of himself back in 2017, which is the version this team needs right now.
That's a good point, and I think it took again, wasn't there a report, Adam Schefter saying that Trey Lance will eventually start by the end of the season. It took the hot poker to get Jimmie Garoppolo to react and play better, and I think that's really what he had. Great O-line help. Obviously, some of it was the Bears' defensive line, but it really took that pushing by Kyle Shanahan to say, you're going to have to make these, because those are all plays that Trey Lance could have made too. So it took Kyle Shanahan saying, you're going to have to make those plays to prove that you can still start for this team. And he made it. He came up clutch. He bought himself another game. I was saying to somebody else, if he doesn't play well this Bears game, his job is done. So he protected the ball well, and it really paid off for him, paid off for the Niners. And we'll see how it goes in the next game.
Yeah, we're in the same category with you. We were saying the same thing. If Jimmie Garoppolo would have had a bad performance against Chicago, it would have been Trey Lance time. And he went out there and he executed. Now, the one thing about Trey Lance is Trey Lance can make every single throw on the field. He's that athletic. He's that talented. The problem is right now he doesn't know to get the ball to the right guy. He misses open receivers. That's something that Jimmie has an advantage over, and the real advantage between Jimmie Garoppolo and Trey Lance. If Jimmie misses receivers like he did the week before, then there's no reason to have him out there. But when he plays like he did against the Bears and he's hitting open receivers, then he's still a better option than Trey Lance right now. But if that's what it all comes down to. He has to hit those open receivers, and he has to go to the right ones when he's supposed to. And if he does, then Jimmie's the right guy for now. Eventually, it'll be Trey Lance time,
100%,
but not yet.
Yeah, 100%. That's the way it feels. That's what we've been basically since the draft. This is the boat that we've been in. That Trey has the ceiling, unlike any ceiling we've seen at the quarterback position for the 49ers. Eventually, right, this is going to be his team. He is the future of this organization. But as of this point in time, Jimmie knows where to go with the football. Jimmie knows where to be with the football. He knows how to get the ball out on time. He leads guys in space. He lets them catch and run after the catch, right? Trey, we've seen it this year. He's late on some guys. He misses some guys. He does get them the ball, and guys have been making some great catches. Debo in that Arizona game across the middle of the field, coming all the way across, basically pirouetting in midair to catch that football. It's great, but he missed. He was really, really late on that throw. Debo made a great catch and turned what was almost a miss into a great opportunity for the 49ers and the extension of the drive. So we'll see. I mean, Trey is definitely going to be there at some point. Ant and I have been in the category of it's most likely going to be 2022, and that's A-okay with us because if Jimmie plays like he played against the Bears and can continue to play that way, then it's the best option right now.
Yeah. And even without J.J. Watt, I mean, the Cardinals are a good defense. Like, they're a pretty good defense, and so I think the 49ers are definitely going to copy a little bit of what the Packers did, even though they don't have as talented of a quarterback as the Packers. But remember, Packers didn't have great receivers. 49ers will this game. So I think they're going to try to attack him just like the Packers did in the Cardinals game. Obviously, we'll get to it later because we have some other topics later on in the show. But I do think that Jimmie Garoppolo is going to have to keep proving it again. This wasn't that great. Like, this was an easy team. I definitely still do want to see him improve in the first half because remember, he wasn't great in the first half. That offense didn't look that good until the second half. And against good teams, maybe not against the Cardinals if Kyler Murray isn't there, but against teams like the Rams, you're going to get down easily 17-6 first half, And so I want to see that first half a little bit different than what it was in this last Bears game. But other than that, I was really happy with the Jimmie Garoppolo experience. And he deserved this. He deserves this starting job for another week. So
now I know we're going to get into grades, and I want to hear before we give ours and talk about Jimmy and his performance against the Bears. Where do you rank this? I know you had mentioned pre-show when we were talking a little bit that this was one of Jimmy's better games throwing the football, probably since that 2019 game against the Saints. And I think a lot of people are drawing a lot of comparisons to that. But if you had to give him a grade overall, where do you put it? Because I'm interested in that. I'm always interested because Ant and I we've spent a lot of time coaching together and, understanding the game. And I've learned a lot of the game. I was a young guy coming up when Ant was coaching in high school, coaching high school football.
Wow.
And I learned a lot of what I knew from football from him as well as other people. So him and I have a very similar perception of how the game plays. Maybe we view the run and the pass game slightly differently in terms of what the importance of it. But, we have a very similar perception. So him and I tend to see things close to the same. It's always nice to hear from other people. Where are you at with Jimmie Garoppolo? What do you grade him at?
This performance definitely was his best of the season. I would grade his performance for the ceiling that we've seen from Jimmie Garoppolo. I think we could all say that his ceiling was around what he did with that Saints to 20. What mixed with the Saints game, mixed with the 17 coming out, his ceiling was around there. He looked the best mobile that he's ever looked. That he's looked super good. So I would grade him. My standards, had his best passing game, arguably one of the best of his career. One of the best passing games, but also just decisiveness. I would grade this a B+ to A-. For his ceiling, maybe not. He did Trey better, arguably, than Trey would have in this game. I don't even think there's a question. So, B+ to A-. He had a really good game.
I like that.
That's a solid grade. Actually, I was thinking B+ as well. So I'm right along the lines with you. I think that's kind of where he was sitting. I thought he left a few plays out on the field that if he would have executed could have got him into the A realm. So I think you're spot on with your grade there, and I pretty much completely agree with it.
That's roughly where I was too. It was in that B to B+ range. I wasn't willing to lean towards A just because of the first half struggles. When your team struggles that much in the first half and you're not able to punch it in for touchdowns, unless you go out and put together a nutso second half where you put up 50 points or something. I'm not willing to go there. But good performance is what the 49ers needed. 300+ passing yards and a couple of touchdowns from this man. We'll take it.
And the only reason why I would not say that it's like a A+ performance is because it was versus the Bears. Now, I don't want to bring this up again, but it was versus the Bears. He had 2 interceptions dropped that arguably could have been interceptions. Other than that, he was really good, but I wouldn't put him best of the best because, again, he had a few plays that were still iffy, but I did like it overall.
Yeah, I think you're going to get that with Jimmie Garoppolo. There's going to be occasional, plays that you're like, what are you doing there? What was that? I know he missed, I think it was Ayuk along the sidelines. He could have had a completion there, and he threw it a little bit too far outside. There's going to be situations like that. But in the same regard, we can't get mad at him for like the Jawan Jennings being held throw where he throws with anticipation and it almost gets intercepted. And people were pretty upset about that. Like, oh, he almost threw to T. Tabor. It's like, well, you wanted Jimmy to throw with anticipation. Then he does. His receiver gets held, and then you don't, understand what is going on and give context to it. I have no problems with criticizing Jimmie Garoppolo or a player on the team as long as there's context to those situations. And I think that, Jimmy has missed throws. He's going to have missed throws. But I think as long as he can execute at the clip that he did against the Bears, and like you said, against Arizona, it's going to be a different animal, a different team. And if he's able to duplicate that performance or at least come close to that performance, he gives them an opportunity to win.
That's a good point. And I mean, again, like I said, he looked really mobile in this game, and
he did.
The offense can now. Chandler Jones, Mike McGlinchey. I don't know if you guys remember that last Arizona Cardinals game, but there was a lot of flags, penalties. So we'll get into that game. I'm trying to save it till the next other topics, but it's hard not to say, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a lot harder, but we'll see. Yeah. So do you guys want to talk playoffs now? That's our next one. So
might as well. Let's do it.
So our next one, the playoff race, obviously, as you guys know, is pretty easy. We're like one game back or half a game back from 7th seed. Were 49ers fans were they overreacting last week with the Colts? I think a lot of us would say this season is near close to over. Were they overreacting, seeing that the NFC, the bottom of the NFC, we still have a crack at the playoffs? And maybe Kyle Shanahan wasn't as wrong as a lot of 49ers fans thought he was. So
wait, 49er fans overreact?
It's crazy. Never happened.
No way.
Never in my lifetime has it ever happened, ever. Look, yes, 49ers fans overreacted 1,000%, except for on our podcast where we've been saying this now for months since the losing streak started.
Yeah.
Guys, take a deep breath. Hey, take a deep breath. It's fine to be frustrated. It's fine to want to hold them accountable for the things they're not doing, for the lack of execution, the lack of consistency, quarterback play all over the place, Brandon Ayuk not getting targeted or feeling like it's not getting targeted. But we'd break down the film. You'd watch the film, and it's like, okay, Kyle's calling plays. Brandon Ayuk's open. Guy misses a block. Jimmy can't get him the ball. Arizona game. Kyle dials up some plays. Brandon Ayuk down the seam, wide open. Trey Lance just misses him. Okay, there's opportunities for Brandon to make plays. However, when Brandon would be put in situations one-on-one, things of that nature, hey, you got man coverage, time to go beat this guy, man. Go do what you did last year against the Bills. Go do what you did last year against Arizona, against the Rams, where he'd have one-on-one coverage, toast a guy, be wide open, catch a ball, break some tackles, and, do some things. The Eagles game, get him the ball in space, he makes the play. This year, hasn't been consistent, hasn't been doing it, and we're like, okay, if Brandon gets dialed in and can get going here and start winning some one-on-ones, we're in a better spot. McGlinchey makes some blocks here where he has opportunities in the run game where he typically doesn't struggle. Right. Going to be okay. Charlie Warner and Ross Dwelly, don't completely forget who their responsibility is second level in the run game. We're going to be just fine. It's a few plays. It's a handful of plays each and every game on offense and defense that could go a different way. We were saying it. We kept harping on it. If the team gets this figured out, if they turn this around here and start executing on some of these plays, the ball starts rolling our way just a little bit, these one-score losses are going to start turning into 1 or 2 score wins for the 49ers. And now you're right back in the thick of it because the rest of the NFC right now, that bottom half is struggling. Minnesota losing to a Dallas Cowboys team without Dak Prescott. You have the Saints now with no Jameis Winston probably for the foreseeable future. I know they got a big win.
ACL.
It's ACL. I know they got a big win, but you have to imagine that is not sustainable long-term for them. And then the Carolina Panthers having a complete identity crisis once Christian McCaffrey goes down. Now, granted, he's going to come back, but they're still struggling, and they're still going to have to fight through those struggles just like San Francisco was. The only difference is a lot of these teams are getting unhealthy at the wrong times, and we're getting healthy at the right time.
I have no problem with fans overreacting to the point where, they're literally fanatics, right? That's where the name comes from. Everyone's very passionate about their football team and getting excited. If you want to get frustrated, I have zero problems with frustration coming out, talking about your team and, wanting to blow it up. I think a lot of people are willing to blow it up.
You're right.
That is where I start drawing the line is let's get rid of Kyle Shanahan. Let's get rid of, this guy. Let's trade George Kittle. Those were the things, the overreactions that I was kind of blown away by. I think we were a couple of games away from, being out of the playoff hunt. I think if we had lost to the Bears and then lost to Arizona, the playoffs would have been completely out of, the way, and we'd played all of our rookies, and it would have been a completely different season. But I wasn't willing to give up on that because in the same regard that I am a fan, I'm also a coach and have seen the way that things have changed over the years. And so one win can really spark a season to change. And so a win against Chicago, yeah, it's not pretty, but it's a win. And a lot of times all it takes is that W, having everyone with their backs against the wall, the whatever it takes mentality that came out of it, hold this team together. And you've seen Kyle Shanahan giving away the team balls after the game, and he gives one to Jimmie Garoppolo, and he says Jimmy had his back against the wall. The team was resonating with that. The team is behind Jimmie Garoppolo, so because Jimmy had his back against the wall, they felt their back against the wall. They can rally behind each other, and a lot of times that can spark something. So hopefully the Chicago Bears game does start a little bit of a run, and thankfully the Panthers, Minnesota, and those guys aren't good enough to run away with that 7th spot, and the 49ers do have an opportunity. So as long as they're hanging around, and right now half game out, they're hanging around, playoffs are a real possibility, and playoffs aren't going away anytime soon, because I think they can win one of the next 2 games and keep themselves in contention. And that's ultimately what we want, because now Tennessee's got Derrick Henry with an injury. Tannehill was injured a little bit. They still have the Jaguars on the schedule. So they have opportunities to win football games.
And the Bungles who bungle.
And the Bengals, who lose to the Jets. So there's
obviously Cardinals next week without Kyler. So
yeah.
It's huge.
And the thing is like we're competing with teams like the Falcons. Like that's seriously a team we're competing with.
No Calvin Ridley.
I know for a fact that we are better than the Falcons. So there's some optimism. Again, I think a day before, obviously, the game, I was watching that game. Like, before that game, I was not optimistic at all. I thought our season was over. And then Pinor saying here, it's not overreacting to think of trading Kittle. I wouldn't do that. You just got the man paid. I mean, a guy that I would maybe think of trading is...
Come on, Pinor.
Garoppolo to the Saints, because they are pretty desperate. But no, they're not. And here's the thing, to quickly go against what he's saying is the 49ers don't, like, what have we seen from them this season? Like, all the rumors of them trading Jimmie Garoppolo and George Kittle. They're not radical. They'll stick with the easy side. They've stuck with the conservative side by starting Jimmie Garoppolo all this time. If they weren't conservative, they would have done Bill Belichick and started Trey Lance, So what have we seen from the 49ers all season long? They're not that type of team that's going to take those type of risks.
Well, and if they trade George, too, they completely fracture their locker room.
That's a leader. That's a face of your franchise.
He's literally the man on the offensive side of the ball.
Can we be honest, too? The impact he has in the run game and the pass game is significantly noticeable. Everyone talking about how Ross Dwelley was solidified tight end 2. Ross Dwelley didn't start. Charlie Warner is now tight end 2 for the 49ers. Ross Dwelley has moved himself down the bench. And this was a point that Ant and I talked about all offseason was after George Kittle, there is a massive drop-off with your tight end position. I mean, a huge drop-off. And if you trade George Kittle for draft capital and a player, that player is not going to have the same impact that George Kittle can have on the field. And there is, I've been looking at some of the tight ends in the draft. I don't see one right now that's George Kittle-esque. So you were sacrificing a lot for a draft pick that if you're going to use it on a tight end, that's concerning because you have other areas of needs on this team other than tight end. But if you don't use it on tight end as well, where is that guy out there that's going to fill the void that is left behind by George Kittle no longer being on this roster?
Yeah, that's a very, very, very good point. And I mean, that's just with George Kittle, you add another weapon over the middle, You add guys getting one-on-one matchups downfield like Deebo Samuel. You have all of that. So that's why I just don't think it would make sense. There's some more comments. Hold on. Everyone freaked out when Buckner was traded, but now people want to trade away Kittle. I don't think trading our best player is the way to go. Yeah, totally agree.
True, and it's funny because this is the same people, right? The ones that were mad about Buckner are the same ones that want to trade Kittle.
It's true.
Yeah.
True.
And then another one, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's not overreacting either. Kittle is capital that we can use. Greenlaw is an asset to trade to because we are solid at that position. It's okay. Think different.
But see, here's the thing: is it's totally okay to think different. But again, the rationale for it is kind of what matters to me, and I know it's what matters to Ann over here. I don't think that we're solid at the linebacker position outside of Greenlaw, Warner, Aziz. Marcel Harris is not a great fit in the run game. I mean,
No,
this. I mean, look at what happened this week. Yes, Fred Warner is an All-Pro middle linebacker, but no Azeez Al-Shaair and no Dre Greenlaw.
They averaged like
means,
5 yards a carry.
Yeah, and early in that game, right? Khalil Herbert absolutely torched this D line. They torched this linebacking core. The run fits were not great. Marcel Harris was getting bullied all over the place. Was getting pushed out of holes because his technique's not there. I don't think that we're set at the linebacker position. I think when you have all three starters, you're set at the linebacker position. You're fine, but all three guys have to be on the field and healthy. And Fred's been having to eat up a lot of double teams and a lot of attention from these offenses. They are scheming ways to get up to Fred Warner and make sure that he's not the guy making the play and make one of these other guys out there, whether that's Marcel Harris, whether that's Jaquiski Tart or Jimmy Ward. Someone else has to make a play right now.
And Marcel Harris, I mean, he was good in the past, pretty good pass rusher, but like you said, just not, I mean, you could argue that Khalil Herbert, if he wouldn't have went out, I think it was like halfway through the third or whatever it was, you could argue this game could have been a lot closer because then Bears got down, whole fourth quarter, they were throwing it, and we've seen with 49ers with Trey Lance, when you start to rely on rookie QBs too much, that's what happens. Like, so there was a few things that factored into this game. I think a lot of luck went our way, but I mean, at the end of the day, the run game, like you said, if Khalil Herbert wouldn't have gotten injured and Damian Williams actually went out, I forgot about that in that game too. So you could argue that game could have been a lot closer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then let's see. Okay. So do you guys, anything else to say on that, or do you want to get to the next topic?
Yeah, we can move on.
Okay. That's good. So next game against the Cardinals, 49ers, big game. Again, news on Kyler Murray might not play. That is huge because, again, you're facing, what's their backup quarterback?
Colt
McCoy. He can't throw it downfield, I'm assuming. They're going to have a very hard time. I mean, I don't know. Colt McCoy I have not watched a lot of because nobody really has. He's been a career backup, but this is a big game. This is a big next game. If we can get back to 500, get another divisional win, this could be one of the few. I mean, 9-8 could get it done for the playoffs. This could be one of the few hard divisional games that we play that we will win. So do you guys, I mean, how big is this game against the Cardinals?
It's huge. You can go back to 500. As soon as you get back to 500, it's like your season starting over again at 0-0. And then you play those last 9 games, and you're just trying to win, enough of them. If you can go 7-2, 6-3, you have a chance to make the playoffs. So that's important for the 49ers. And, yeah, it's going to help with Kyler not being out because you don't have to worry about the legs dynamic and being able to extend the plays, run, use his legs. So they can take more chances with that pass rush. They can run more twists. They can, jump inside on Colt McCoy. Now, the thing about Colt McCoy is we're a little familiar with him. He used to play in San Francisco. I watched a lot of his games when he was at Texas. The guy is still a very adequate backup. So he can beat you if you allow him to. So they got to go into this game with the same attitude that they had last week, is that whatever it takes to win, do whatever you got to do. Your back's still against the wall. You got to go up and get him. So I'm hoping that the 49ers still go after him. But, yeah, I think this does give the 49ers an opportunity, an advantage in this game. Because they don't have to play against one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Now you are going against Colt McCoy. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they dial up. If they're able, it's going to be about stopping the run game for the Cardinals now. And that's why it could be huge if Dre Greenlaw's back. We know Azeez is going to be back. If we can be able to stop their run fits, we're going to be in a good situation. But, yeah, we're definitely not out of the woods yet because the Cardinals team is a very good football team overall. But it definitely helps with no Kyler Murray.
It's huge, man. No Kyler Murray is gigantic.
Is he ruled out? I think the status is unclear, right? Sorry, Frank.
Go ahead.
Is he ruled out? Is the I think his status is unclear. He could still play, right?
Yeah, you talking about Kyler?
Kyler, the status being unclear. Yeah,
it's unclear. Kingsbury's not going to come out and say if he's healthy and good to go or not. It's a smart move on his part, right? Keep the 49ers guessing, make him prep for Kyler, and then if they get Colt McCoy, then okay, you get Colt McCoy. But, yeah, Ant and I have both watched a lot of Colts. I watched a ton of him at Texas. I watched a good chunk of him last year when he was with New York, and he had to start for a little bit of time over there. And he won some football games for the New York Giants. So this is a guy who's a career 500 quarterback in the league. So he wins some games. He loses some games. Sometimes he's at fault for losing the game. Sometimes he does some things and makes some throws and gets the guys in and out of the right sets and right plays, and especially in the run game, to get them into the end zone and score crucial points when they need to. So by no means do I think this is a cakewalk. This is definitely a quarterback in Colt McCoy who can come in and win a football game, just one. If you need him to, he can get you one. So the 49ers definitely have their work cut out for him this week, but it's completely different than if it's Kyler Murray, because Kyler Murray extends things with his feet. He makes defenders look silly. He makes stupid throws that have no business being completed to anyone on the football field at all that are going to magically end up in someone's hands because he has that Russell Wilson magic characteristic trait. So the game is definitely easier to prepare for and easier to scheme for the 49ers. And it's one of those things now where you have to take advantage of it. You're not wrong. This is a huge game. It's a big game. This is a game where if Kyler's not playing, you need to come out of this with a win because you need to win one of the next two.
Exactly.
One of the next two to keep yourself in contention.
And who do we have after these next two? I think we have the Jaguars or the Bengals.
It's the Rams next.
Well, he's saying after the Rams.
Oh, after the Rams. I think it's the Jags.
Yeah.
I think.
That'll be a blowout. So, really, I mean, honestly, all this will take to make the playoffs. Now, halfway through the season, a lot can happen, but all this will take to make the playoffs is literally going 9-8 unless something changes. And so, again, this is a big game. Again, it's going to limit a lot of things, what the Cardinals want to do. Obviously, he's not as much of a pocket, he's not as much of a mobile quarterback as Kyler Murray is. So that's going to help them scheming. They're not going to have to worry about Kyler Murray running all over the field. So they're really just going to have to focus in on DeAndre Hopkins. Again, we saw what Devontae Adams did to us. We're really just going to have to limit the penalties, which has been a big thing against big receivers and good receivers. But, I mean, honestly, this game, we kept it close with Trey Lance. If Jimmie Garoppolo, if as long as we don't beat ourselves, I think we have a pretty good chance.
Yeah, that's a good point. They got to keep executing, limit mistakes, and then they'll have an opportunity to be in this game. I mean, Jimmie Garoppolo historically plays well against Arizona, so that's something we got going for us. And then without J.J. Watt, you think the 49ers should be able to establish this run game with Elijah Mitchell, be able to get out on the edge. Because even though Golden and Chandler Jones are really good pass rushers, they can suffer a little bit in run, as being able to set the edge. And the 49ers have George Kittle back. That'll also help as well. He'll be able to handle some of those edge blocking with Kyle Juszczyk. They're two of the best at doing that. The emergence of Charlie Warner as a blocker, he can also establish that as well. So I'm interested in how they get this run game going early in this game. If they get it going early, they'll set up the play action passes, hopefully be able to take shots down the field. Now that they have a more complete receiving core, you see Brandon Ayuk stepping up, you see Deebo Samuel doing what he does, and then George Kittle being able to go up that seam. Because when we watched the All-22 film, Ross Willie and Charlie Warner against Arizona were open up the seam. But Trey Lance wasn't willing to throw him the football. It could be that it's them, who knows? But you are willing to throw the football to George Kittle. If he's up the seam, the difference is if he's running up the seam, Buda Baker and all those guys are focused on him, so that means somebody else is going to come wide open.
That's a good point. I mean, yeah, if he can just hit those throws like he was last week, get Brandon Ayuk, obviously, like I said, get Brandon Ayuk involved. Elijah Mitchell, man, that makes me think that we're not going to have to bring back Raheem Mostert next year because this guy is really, really good. But yeah, so there is one question in here. Can't wait to see Jimmy versus Rams. A lot of 49ers fans don't respect them just because we had their number the last 2 seasons. This fan base will be humbled and learn that the past doesn't matter. Well, I think the biggest thing, I mean, I'll get your guys' thoughts on this, but don't you guys agree? Biggest thing with the Rams was Jared Goff. That was a big thing. And yeah, I agree with you, Pinor.
Yeah, 100%. It was the reason that you weren't worried about the Rams before is they had Goff. So you knew he was going to make a mistake. He was going to flub it up somehow. But now they got Matthew Stafford, and Stafford's a different animal. They had, and Von Miller now too to the outside. This Rams team is very good. This is not the same Rams team that the 49ers played last year or in 2019. This is a completely different animal. It's a different game. It's different matchups. Nothing that mattered in the past matters, and anyone that's not taking this game completely serious doesn't understand how good the Rams are. The Rams are a very good football team. They're going to give the 49ers everything they can handle, and depending on how the Niners look against Arizona, if they don't handle Arizona and Jimmy doesn't execute, the Rams game could get scary real quick. The only thing we got going for us is Kyle does understand what McVay is trying to do, but in the same regard, McVay understands what Kyle's trying to do. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. It's always an interesting thing when you get those two guys together. So that's a different animal entirely.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it other than that. It's Pinor's not wrong.
No.
The past does not dictate what this is now. The present relationship between these two teams is not even close to the same. The move that they just made, they are all in. They're all on this team. They're all in on winning this ship this year. They want that championship. They want to bring it back, and they want to do it right now in Matt Stafford's first year because it opens up the door for possibilities for them to make moves and continue doing things to keep themselves competitive over the next few seasons. But no, I mean, this is going to be big, but it has to start this week. You have an opportunity this week with a weekend Arizona team to take advantage, build on the momentum, and put yourself in a better position against the Rams, in which your confidence is high. You guys are rolling well. The execution feels like it's there, and guys are getting an idea of what it is that they need to be doing on the football field in order to get that execution. The good news is that you got a Cardinals team coming up this week that has very talented edge rushing presence to kind of get you that extra little bit of juice heading into that matchup now with a Von Miller and Aaron Donald-led defense. And also, don't forget, 49ers fans, we do have the Aaron Donald stopper and Daniel Brunskill. So who knows? Maybe he's putting it together over the next couple of games.
He hasn't looked like a stopper.
Or he does nothing right for this next week. And then for some reason we play the Rams and he turns into the guy that we all see and going, oh my God, what is happening?
I do not want to think about that matchup right now.
No, neither do I.
Jimmy meets fun. He's now friends with Aaron and Jalen. You boys behave now. Yeah.
It's dangerous.
I am kind of scared. Now, the one thing, we do have Trent Williams, but they're going to match up Von Miller versus Mike McGlinchey, no doubt about it. It is going to be bad. Like, I'm so scared.
Get the run game going now.
It depends, though. If you chip, too, you can use a running back. You can use George Kittle to chip. Bring in Charlie Warner to help chip. There's going to be situations where they can do things to kind of limit Von Miller's speed initially. The problem is they have so many weapons all over the defensive line that how do you match it with all of them? Because you still have to give help to Daniel Brunskill with Aaron Donald. It is nasty. The 49ers are going to have to get the ball out quick. They're going to have to get the ball to Debo and Brandon Ayuk. A horizontal offense is back.
It's huge.
It's huge. It's huge that week for sure.
And the biggest thing is don't get down. That's why the defense is going to get key. And Jimmie Garoppolo can't. I mean, he still hasn't solved the first half hiccups, and this offense still hasn't solved it. So Jimmie Garoppolo cannot, or not Jimmie Garoppolo, the 49ers offense cannot get, they have to take every opportunity. And the defense, a lot of it's going to, like I said, hinge on the defense because you can't get down in this, in the Rams game. Otherwise, like you guys said, then you're going to have to rely on passing the ball more. And then that's where Mike McGlinchey gets exposed.
100%.
Exactly, 100%.
So
biggest weakness.
So obviously you guys have been mentioning the all 22. I wanted to quickly put this in there. Kyler Murray obviously might be out. We've talked about this. Might be out for next week against the 49ers. But you guys watched the all 22 and kind of saw how they attacked Kyler Murray. Are things going to change in this defense? Like, what did you guys see defensively against Kyler Murray last time we played them? And how are they going to kind of try to attack them with Colt McCoy?
It was all about disguise. They completely disguised all the coverages. They kept running shells, making him think he was seeing one thing, and then he was seeing something else. If you can make him hesitate for a second or not trust his eyes, then you have an opportunity to get to him or to cover his receivers. If he's able just to step back, that's the one thing that's different, right, from him and Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers can take 2 steps, throw the football lightning quick. Kyler, he wants to be able to read. And so what happens is when he gets mucked up, he's confused, he's looking around, and they're able to do that. They do that to Russell Wilson as well. And I think that they can do that continually against him because they're able to run left and right safety. So that means these guys can go back and forth. They can show 2 deep safeties with both guys over the top. they can bring somebody up pre-snap, right before the snap is about to happen. And I think a lot of times, too, with Cliff Kingsbury's offense, is a little more simplistic in the route tree. So there's not a lot of double moves. There's not a lot of those options. They take those very reluctantly. So what happens is you're able to kind of pick up on what they're going to do. It's a lot of mirrored routes, which means mirrored means the same routes on one side as the other. So a lot of times you sit at the sticks and you know what's coming. So it's all about confusing Kyler, keeping him in the pocket. And as long as you do that and you make him defeat you from the pocket, it's a little bit more difficult for him. If he's able to see his read right away, he's going to absolutely annihilate you.
Yeah, and it's the same thing if Colt McCoy is able to just sit back comfortably and diagnose the field and we're not getting pressure or you're just doing those types of things. But, how much of this offense is Colt McCoy comfortable with? It's this offense that's pretty simplistic already. Does he even have to get more simplistic coming into this game? I don't think it does either. Yeah, he is a smart guy, and he's got a lot of experience in the league. He's got a lot of starts under his belt, 50-plus in the league. So this is a guy who – this is going to be interesting no matter which way you slice it. I'm wondering if we see – I hope we don't see something similar to this last week where these DBs are playing soft and just trying to let Colt McCoy dump the ball underneath, because that's going to lead to problems for the 49ers.
Yeah, there was one play against the Bears, and they showed the replay, and it was like 3rd down and 10 or whatever. Emmanuel Mosley playing so padded that Darnell Mooney runs like a quick cutback, like runs up the sideline and then cuts back, and they gave him 12 yards of separation, complete 3rd down, and I'm like, what is that? Like, you have to play a little bit more than that. And the other thing is they can't play wide 9, the 49ers. They almost can't. They have to play some type of formation where it stops the run game a lot more. Because believe it or not, the Cardinals have a better run game, and they're going to use it against the 49ers. So, obviously, like you said, not as padded cornerbacks. And then also, I think we're going to see a lot more not wide 9, 4-3.
Well, we'll see. I think it depends on if Dre Greenlaw's playing. Because if you have Greenlaw, Alshire, and Fred Warner, I think you can run the wide 9 to a point. So you'll be able to run it on like a 2nd and long or certain situations. You'll be able to do that because those guys can help in the run fit area. Now, Talanoa Fung can also come up and help in those run blitzes. You will miss Jimmy Ward if he's not out there. Yeah. But you're right. When they switched in the Chicago Bears game to a more base 4-3 defense, where they put their defensive end in an 8 or 7 technique, it was a lot better for them in the run fits. However, it gave Justin Fields those opportunities to be able to get outside and be successful with his legs. So it's a pick your poison situation for the 49ers.
Yeah.
So I think they'll make Arizona prove they're going to be able to run the ball consistently against their wide 9. If they do, then they'll adjust. But if not, they just sit in it and then make somebody else beat them. And it will be a big deal if Kyler's not playing, because then you don't have to worry about Colt on all those boots and all those extra plays where he can get outside the pocket.
Good point. We do have a comment here. Colt McCoy brings me back to when I threw away all his rookie cards that me and my buddies stole from the store. What a wasted effort and a terrible risk. Man, I remember Colt McCoy football cards.
They were hoping for more to Colt. He took him to a national championship as a freshman. I mean,
that's a great comment, by the way.
It is. It's glorious.
I thought he was. Now that you guys are saying, okay, maybe he's not as bad as I thought he was, but before you guys were saying all this stuff about him, I was like, this guy's QB. This is not a good replacement. But this brings me back to when Kyler Murray was out against the Rams, I believe, or got injured last year against the Rams game when they were facing the Rams, and they kept up with them, even though I don't think that was Colt McCoy at the time. But
no, it wasn't.
They can keep up with teams. They can keep up with teams that are better than them at an advantage. But again, if the 49ers, like they did last time against the Rams, can shut down DeAndre Hopkins and make it hard, maybe this could be a pretty good game. But I do think it's going to be close overall.
Oh yeah, you bracket DeAndre Hopkins and you make, someone like AJ Green beat you. You know what I mean? You make AJ Green beat you. You make Christian Kirk beat you. That's why in the first game when they played, Christian Kirk caught the balls right off the bat because he was on Dante Johnson, and they were just going to let him be the one to win. And so right now they're gonna still do the same thing, try to take away Hopkins, make the other guys beat them. The only problem is the difference. Now Zach Ertz is playing as well. And without Jimmy Ward, that's a different matchup issue for the 49ers. I don't know if they're going to be able to go with a Tavon Wilson on him, if they're going to be able to go Talanoa Hufanga. Right. But normally you would just put Jimmy Ward or Jagosi Tar on him and just wish them the best of luck because both of them can both handle him. So that's another key matchup in this game.
Definitely.
That is a very good point. I did not think about it. Zach Ertz could be a big one, and they're going to be looking for the check down option a lot. And you could see Zach Ertz. You could see a lot of their other running back. What's his name?
Chase Edmonds.
Chase Edmonds. Yeah. So
there's options. There's definitely options. If there's anything that the Arizona Cardinals are not short on, it is weapons on the offense at the receiver position, running back, tight end, whatever it is. Their quarterback may be short and struggles to catch high snaps sometimes, but the rest of their offense is dynamic, and they got a lot of things for Cliff Kingsbury to dial up.
Yeah.
Right, and they're coming off of a longer week where they have more time to prepare. There's a few things there. Yeah, longer week, more time to prepare, and again, that's really key. And they're also coming off of a loss, so they know they have to fix a few things. I always say that the best team is when the 49ers 2019. Against the Seahawks. That was when they lost in overtime against the Seahawks. They came back really strong the next game. So they're gonna face a team that is wants this win in the Cardinals. But I think the 49ers, again, they want this win too because they need to win this game. Again, you're looking at the next few games. This game especially is a must win. Anytime you can face a hard team like the Cardinals that doesn't have a quarterback, you're lucky, and so take advantage of it.
Yeah, 100% agree with that all the way. They have to win this game. They need to win it. 4-4 is a lot different than 3-5. It's huge. You think it's only one game, but it really is huge.
Right.
And it could also springboard this team into a momentum in an area where they can carry this into a big game opponent against the Rams in the division as well. And then you get a nice stretch of, inconsistent teams that you've got with Jacksonville, the Vikings, Seattle, though at that point they'll have a healthy Russell Wilson back. And then the Bengals, who apparently are still the Bungles. I guess they're bungling still. Everyone was telling me how this was a different Bengals team, and I don't know.
That interesting. Yeah. Let's see. Real quick, there's one more comment. It's on Jimmy's execution. There's been plenty of plays prior to the Bears game where receivers were wide open. If we lose, it's on Kyle allowing Jimmy's limitation to hurt us winning. It's a good point. And one thing I'll say is that, again, like this game, Rams game, they can't start off slow like they have this whole season. So.
Oh, yeah, no. Brian Orr's 100% right. In the game before, it was in the wet game against the Colts, Jimmie Garoppolo missed wide open receivers. We were very critical of him in our All-22 film because our point was, Jimmy, you're out there to find these wide open receivers, especially in the intermediate area. Right. If you're not going to do that, there's no reason not to have you in there, not Trey Lance. Put Trey Lance in there. Trey Lance can do the same things, except he's more dynamic with his legs. So that's Jimmy loses his advantage. His advantage right now is that he can find the open receiver and get him the ball. 100%. If Jimmy's not going to find open receivers this week against Arizona or next week against the Rams, it's time to put in the kid. It's time to play Trey because he'll be able to figure it out, and he can do so much more with his legs than Jimmy can.
100%, yes.
Yeah. Well, do you guys have anything else to say? We've basically covered everything that we need to, but this has been a lot of fun. So thank you guys for joining me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed coming on with you. You have a lot of good knowledge. I appreciate your approach to the game and your honesty about, what you feel, because that's important. Everyone's opinion is welcomed and every opinion is open. And that's what I like from 49ers people is there's so many different opinions.
Yeah.
We're not saying any opinion is right. All we say is that, you try to look at it and try to get as much football knowledge as you can while you're, learning. And I really enjoy the way you approach it. And I'm excited to see more of your stuff in the future. I think, you got a bright future ahead of you. Definitely,
Ben. The things you already understand at your age, I wish I had doing some of that stuff at your age, man. I wish I had the confidence to put myself out there and put those takes out there, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot to put yourself out there and, say what you feel and back it up and do it each and every week. You're doing that, man. Ant's not wrong. Your future is very bright, and we can't thank you enough for letting us come on and talk 49ers with you.
Absolutely. Guys, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you guys for joining me once again. And this has been a lot of fun. We will probably see you. I will see you later on this week. But thank you, Ant and Alex, for joining me. And we will see you guys later.
All right. Thank you.
See you, Ben.
See ya.